Hello and welcome to our Pantry Orientation. Before this video, you should have viewed our program orientation for all of our partner charities and participating programs. Before we get started, this is a quick reminder to please take notes throughout the training and then contact us with any specific questions you might have about running a pantry program. Again, this is the pantry-specific training to complete the second portion of orientation. And along with the first orientation video, there is a pantry-specific quiz that you'll need to take. Once we review your results from the quiz, we'll contact you with any follow-up questions or discussions, and then we'll send you your certificate of completion. The agenda for today: we're going to talk about general information about a pantry, how to get people registered for a pantry, some important key compliance reminders, how to submit your monthly statistics, other compliance requirements, and some frequently asked questions. General information. What is a pantry? By now, you should have been operating a pantry for at least 6 months in order to apply as a partner charity of Second Harvest Food Bank. But for those of you who may not know, a pantry is a food assistance program designed to offer free groceries to income-eligible community members. As a reminder, a pantry program in partnership with Second Harvest can only use pantry foods for the pantry. Anything ordered through Second Harvest must be used for your specific pantry program approved by Second Harvest. That means you can't use any of our inventory for a hot meal program or as fundraisers, and a lot of our churches do run weddings, funerals, etc., so no using the food for those as well. You might be wondering, why are there so many requirements? Well, we have to follow all of the guidelines through USDA, through their TFAP program. Again, that's the Emergency Food Assistance Program. Those rules are then interpreted by the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services, or ODJFS, through their Food Programs Manual. We also have to follow guidelines from the Ohio Association of Food Banks when we talk about the Ohio Food Program, as well as the Agricultural Clearance Program, or OFP, or ACP. We also have a contract with Feeding America. Since we are a member of Feeding America, we need to follow their requirements as well. In addition, we do have an annual financial audit, and many of our requirements come from that audit as well. Who is eligible to receive pantry? The person must live in your service area, and they must be income eligible. The income guidelines here show by household size how much money someone can make in order to come to your pantry. For example, a household size of 1, the annual income shouldn't be any more than $24,979. It's also broken down by month and week. Now, when we talk about income eligibility, please understand that there is no verification of income when somebody comes to visit your pantry. Income is self-declared, and nobody needs to tell you how much money they're making for the week, month, or year in order to receive groceries. We'll talk about registration shortly, and through that registration process is where community members will self-declare that they are income eligible. Let's talk about your service area. Typically, a pantry program will set a service area to include a specific city, a zip code, or a county where people must live to receive services. Now, a service area could change throughout time based on your pantry's needs. If you notice a lot of people, let's say from Lorain County, come to your program, but you only want to serve Elyria, you might enlarge your service area to serve more people. On the other hand, you might shrink your service area if maybe you don't have the financial ability to serve everybody in the entire county. Maybe you just want to serve people in Amherst if that's where your program is located. Now, very importantly, transients, homeless, and migrant workers are automatically considered to be within your service area. So if somebody provides identification outside of your service area, but they're a transient, a homeless person, or a migrant worker, you still must serve them. In addition, you should also still serve someone outside of your service area, especially if it's their first time to your pantry. You can remind them that your pantry only serves your certain city, zip code, or county, but we still want to make sure someone leaves with groceries if they come to your program for the first time. Pantry registration. For pantry registration, each head of household receiving groceries needs to sign the state-approved eligibility to take food home form to acknowledge receipt of food assistance for their family. We do this using Pantry Track. It's the electronic version of the paper form provided by Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. Registration can be done before or after shopping. In most cases with most of our pantry programs, registration is typically done before shopping. When you're ready to start registering people for your pantry, it's important to understand what documents you should and should not require. At every single pantry distribution, you should require the head of household's photo ID. This is just to make sure that the person come to your pantry is who they say they are. Please understand that you may not require a state-issued identification. Photo ID may include a library card, veteran ID, work ID, anything that shows the person's name and their photo. The second piece of documentation you should require is proof of residency. You should only require proof of residency for a family's first visit to your program and every year when the income guidelines are updated in July. You should not request or require proof of address or residency at every single pantry distribution. Proof of residency can include a utility bill, a piece of mail, or a current photo ID. Beyond these two required documents, that's photo ID at every distribution, and proof of residency, either their first time there or on an annual basis in July, you may not request or require any other documentation. This includes any sort of verification of children or other adults at the household. You may not require any sort of verification of income or any other information that you might want to know. Now, you might have information that you do want to collect, and that's okay. You can ask other questions. You just can't require that person to answer those questions in order to receive food from your pantry. To go into a little bit more detail about additional documentation, once again, you can only require the photo identification and proof of residency from the head of the household. You may not request or require photo ID, mail, social security card, a birth certificate, or anything else from any other household member, whether that's an adult or a child. This is what we call verifying household size, which is explicitly in violation of the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services Food Programs Manual. You also may not request or require any other verifying documentation, such as proof of income. When we talk about additional information, again, you may ask for additional information, such as household member names and birth dates, as you'll see in Pantry Track, but you can't make this required information to receive groceries. If the head of household isn't sure on a birth date or exactly how old someone is in the household, you can simply put in a placeholder to show that that person is a child, adult, or a senior. Now, I mentioned briefly the paper form through Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. We'll look at this paper a little bit later, but we really want you to use Pantry Track. Pantry Track is the online version of that required form so that people coming to your pantry could acknowledge receipt of goods. Again, we always want you to use Pantry Track live when possible. The paper forms are very complicated, messy, and very annoying. If you for some reason do have to use the paper forms, you can still log the families that you signed in on paper into Pantry Track, and you still have to keep the paper record for the 5 years plus the current year record retention. This is the paper form eligibility to take food home form from Job and Family Services. If you have to use this paper form, please know that you can't erase or white anything out. You may not have any mistakes on the paper. If you do have mistakes, you should start over on a brand new paper form. You may not make any notes or additional markings on the form. It must be completed in full, and you also cannot staple anything to this form. You can't use paper clips or have any sort of sticky notes or notations on the form. As you can see, this form comes with a lot of sticky requirements, and that's why we love Pantry Track. A quick update for COVID-19 registration. Typically in Pantry Track, the recipient of the groceries or the head of household will be the one to physically type in their initials into Pantry Track when you sign them in. Because of our no-touch push for all of our food programs, this process is a little bit different right now. First of all, absolutely no documentation can be required through COVID-19 precautions. Anybody coming to your pantry is going to provide information verbally, and you shouldn't require any photo ID or proof of residency at this time. Recipients also will not sign through COVID-19 precautions, so instead, the makers of Pantry Track have created this nice little Serve This Customer button. Once you have the person and their family into Pantry Track, instead of having them type in their initials, you'll simply click or touch this Serve the Customer button, and that means that that person is now registered for your pantry. In the case that you do have to use paper, if you're outside with a drive-through distribution and you don't have access to Wi-Fi, we do have a condensed paper sign-in sheet that you're able to use. If you use this paper form, please understand that you still do have to log those individuals and families into Pantry Track, and it should be done in the same day. Some additional key compliance reminders. As a pantry, you must serve at least once per month. There are no exceptions to this rule. If for some reason you run a once-a-month pantry program and you're not able to operate, please contact us immediately so that we can work with you to possibly provide another day of the month where you can provide a pantry program. Once again, food from Second Harvest can only be used for your designated pantry program. You may not share the food with other program numbers, other organizations, or use it as fundraisers. And when we talk about eligible volunteers receiving food assistance, this is perfectly fine, but they cannot receive any preferential treatment. We don't want to see your volunteers getting food first or making them go last. When possible, you should have your volunteers go through the pantry line just like everybody else at your program. Records retention. Again, the records retention time period is 5 years plus the current year. If you have enough documentation where you're past that 5 years plus the current year, please be sure to shred any sensitive information, but make sure you're after that retention period. For a pantry program, those forms or documents that you need to keep include the client forms, also known as the eligibility to take food home forms if you have anything on paper, any proxy forms, temperature logs, civil rights training records, and your monthly statistics reports. Now, if your program is unfortunately planning on closing or ending your relationship with Second Harvest, please do not get rid of your documentation. We need to have you provide us with your forms, any sort of documents that you've kept over the 5 years plus the current year, and we need those back at Second Harvest in case we get audited. In addition, we do encourage you to keep any sort of electronic records when possible. For example, the monthly stats report is emailed to you, so you can easily keep those documents on a flash drive or in your email, but we do want to make sure that other staff or volunteers have access to those documents, just in case they need to get them if you're not available. Alright, that was a lot of compliance information at one time. If you need a little bit of a break, go ahead and pause this video, take a walk, get a stretch in, get a glass of water, just something to refresh yourself for a quick minute, while you enjoy a picture of our neighbor's cat Daisy, who's helping us out with yard work. Welcome back. We're going to talk about how to submit your statistics. As a reminder, the monthly statistics are required by the Ohio Association of Food Banks, as well as the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. And again, these numbers help lawmakers understand the needs of food banks in our area and across the state of Ohio. It also allows us to gain additional food sources when we are able to understand how many people we're serving. The monthly statistics are due by the 15th of the month for the previous calendar month services. For example, for the calendar month of June, June 1st through June 30th, those June statistics are due by July 15th. Now first, you're going to want to log into Pantry Track. This is what your home screen will look like. And you're going to click on either the main pantry report or include produce. As a best practice, you can never go wrong with choosing include produce because it will include all of your services for the month. The main pantry report will not include produce specific distributions if you had any of those throughout the month. From there, you'll see a list of months where you've distributed and recorded in Pantry Track. Now this screen has more options than what I'm showing you here, but what you want to choose for your monthly statistics is what you see on the screen, by location, by month. If you need to look at more specific reporting, let's say you give out diapers and you have that as a specific event in Pantry Track, you can look at perhaps by event by month and choose diapers, and then you can see how many people receive diapers for the month. But for the purposes of your monthly statistics report, you want to make sure you choose the by location by month and simply click on the month that you are reporting for. You'll see a page that has a lot more information than what you see here, but you want to have the very top portion that looks just like this. It'll show you local agency's statistical report, and then a breakdown of households with children, without children, and then the individual numbers. Do not click out of this screen. You want to have this screen up, or you could write down your numbers so that you can put it into the online stats form, but make sure you have these numbers available before going to the next step. After you run your Pantry Track report and you have your numbers available, you'll go to our website, www.secondharvestfoodbank.org. Our website does look slightly different, but you'll always see the Partner Charity Zone in the upper right corner. So you'll click on Partner Charity Zone, and then you'll see a list of different options within our Partner Charity Zone. You'll want to click on Partner Charity Forms. From there, you'll see an option of different monthly statistics reports that we have available. You'll want to click on the TFAP monthly report. As you'll see, that's for a pantry, a soup kitchen, or a shelter. Once you click on that TFAP report, you'll see what looks like on the right, where it'll ask you some general information about your program and then your specific numbers. You'll want to complete this form using the numbers from the Pantry Track report that you found earlier. Once you go through the form and submit your responses, you should receive an email within 24 hours with an attachment to it that looks like this. Now for your pantry program, it'll have all of your information that you put in the online form, and then all of the numbers that you submitted. Please do review this form to make sure that it matches the Pantry Track report that you initially ran. If you have any typos or if you missed something, we do ask that you resubmit your form or at least email us with what your correction is. Other pantry requirements. As a pantry program, there are specific postings that need to be available for all of your recipients to see before registering for your pantry. The And Justice for All poster, the income guidelines from Ohio Department of Job and Family Services, and if you're a faith-based organization, such as a church or an organization that has faith-based ties, we also need you to post the written notice of applicant and recipient rights. All of these forms are available on the Partner Charity Zone under the Partner Charity Forms section. This is what the And Justice for All poster looks like. Please be mindful that this poster must be size 11 by 17 and it must be in color. The version we use is green. If you need this poster, please contact us and we'll make sure one is in your next pickup or delivery. This is what the Income Guidelines posting looks like. This form is a specific Job and Family Services form. Please do not modify, enlarge, shrink, or do anything to this form. It should be 8.5 by 11 size, and it is updated annually by Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. Typically, this is done in July. You'll notice in the very lower left-hand corner, you'll see form number JFS 04224, and it has a revision date of 7/19. That means this form is good from July 2019 through June of 2020. Always make sure that you have the most updated income guidelines posted at your program. For our faith-based organizations, this is the written notice of applicant and recipient rights. You'll simply complete the top portion with the name of your partner charity. For example, First Baptist Church. Your partner charity contact, which is typically going to be your pastor's name or the pantry coordinator's name. Please do include a phone number, but it can be your organization's main line or your church phone number rather than posting a cell phone number. Email address is optional, but could be helpful. This document is posted so that people coming to your pantry program can understand their rights as coming to a faith-based organization. Now, during civil rights training, you will learn a lot of different things about what faith-based organizations can and can't do with recipients of a food pantry. But long story short, this form is really just letting people know that going to a faith-based organization should not in any way violate their civil rights, and they should not have any sort of solicitation from the church to join the church or to pray, etc. When we talk about your pantry hours, again, remember that you must be open a minimum of once per month, but we do encourage more frequent open hours if you're able to do it. You must have your regular hours of operation posted for the public to see outside of your building. That way, if somebody walks up to your building, they know when to come back for your pantry program. If you do have any changes in your service hours, please contact Program and Member Services, and that way we can update our website and community members are able to see when you're open. The next section reviews frequently asked questions. These are situations that might be a little bit tricky and you might not know what to do in your first time experiencing them. For example, two families want to register under the same address. What do I do? Most importantly, try not to make assumptions. The best course of action is to talk to the two families and see how they actually operate within their household. If the two families really do operate as separate households and they prepare meals separately and they really don't have anything to do with each other financially, they truly are two families living under one roof. So what you'll do in that situation is log them into Pantry Track as two separate families, and each family will go through and get groceries separately. Now, through talking with them, if they do decide that, well, we really are kind of one household, we prepare meals together, then you can kind of explain to them that they're really one family, and then you'll log them into Pantry Track as one family, and that's how they'll receive groceries from your program. Can I give more food to larger families? Yes, of course you can, but you don't have to depending on how your program operates. You might have a set 20 items for any family who comes in. You might have it parsed out where an individual can come in, their household is 1, and they get 10 items. A household of 2 gets 12 items, etc. down the line. The most important thing to consider in this situation is to be consistent. You want to have a very specific and designated number of items or set of groceries for each household size. You don't want a family of 4 coming in and getting 2 huge bags of groceries, and then the next family of 4 coming in and only getting maybe a half a bag of groceries. Just be sure that you're consistent in how you operate. Can you make your own sign-in sheet for registration? The answer is absolutely no. If you're going to log people in on paper, you have to use the eligibility to take food home form designed by Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. Again, the best case scenario is to use Pantry Track, the online version of that form, and that way you don't have to worry about it. What do I do if someone outside my service area comes to my pantry? Again, you want to serve them while they're at your pantry, especially if it's their first visit with you. Many people don't understand that a program might have a service area. They might be traveling and visiting family or friends. You still want to make sure that they're able to have groceries while they're there. You can refer them to pantries close to where they live, or have them call Second Harvest directly and we can find a location closer to where they live. But please, in those instances, we really don't want to turn people away, especially if it's their first time visiting. We have a lot of pretzels that came in one large container. Can't we make smaller bags to give them out to more people? Unfortunately, the answer is no. All food that you receive must remain in its original packaging for a pantry program. If you do have a large bulk item, you can save that item for a very large family, and that way that bulk item goes out to one family, and you don't have to worry about any food safety issues when you look at repacking any sort of item like that. We're almost done. Please don't forget that this pantry-specific training does have a pantry quiz that you must take. In addition, by now I hope that you have completed the general orientation video and you've taken that quiz as well. Once again, once we receive your quiz, we will review it and get in contact with you if you have any questions or follow-up discussions, and then you'll receive your certificate of completion. If you had any questions about today's pantry orientation, or any questions in general, please contact me, Sarah Horan, at 440-752-0190, or you can send me an email. Thank you for your attention today, and we hope you enjoyed our training.